So recently, one of our followers asked me to look into Andrew Yang. And this is someone I knew a little bit about, but honestly hadn't spent that much time following. However, when I started to research him, I felt like it deserved a video in itself to be able to break down who he is and what he's been doing. Now, when I say Democratic candidate for president, the first people you probably think of is someone like Joe Biden or Kamala Harris or Cory Booker, one of these active public figures who's been in the spotlight for a while, who's been a politician or is a politician, and they've got a traditional candidacy. Andrew Yang is very different than this type of person. He is someone who's been working in the private sector, creating jobs for some time, and really what's got people excited is the way that he presents himself. He comes across as someone who has thought through the issues and has a myriad of policy proposals, and he's not so much focused on representing the Democratic Party or even himself as much as he is a particular agenda that is focused on the common person. And he's got a very compelling message when he is talking about why Donald Trump won and the fact that there are so many jobs that are becoming automated and are being lost, and the traditional American worker is going to find himself or herself struggling in a new economy in which those same jobs that they've been doing no longer exist. And unlike many Democratic politicians, his proposal is not for those people to rapidly reinvent themselves or completely change what they're doing, but to be able to find common sense, prudent ways for them to do that. So let's look at a couple campaign ads and you'll see exactly what his appeal is.
There is a point at which the Democratic Party used to be very, very heavily aligned with working class Americans. Yeah. The savings from robot trucks are estimated to be $168 billion a year. So I'm running for president in large part because I think we need to get in front of this set of problems. We have to say, look, if we're going to save $168 billion a year, maybe some of that should go to the truckers and give them a soft landing.
The fact is that you're actually worried about the little guy. You know, you're actually worried about the truck driver. You're actually worried about that man or lady answering the phone, or the fast food worker, that no one ever is going to get up on any kind of a political platform and talk about.
I'm going to talk about it.
And that says a lot about you. The fact that you even came out here with me today and you took time out of your schedule to drive around in a truck and meet truck drivers and walk around a truck stop just to see what it's like. They don't ever do that. And they just don't seem to remember that, hey, it's the little guy like us, the blue collar worker, that we built this country. And here you are sitting with me today and saying the stuff that you have said. I have to follow you now.
Oh, thank you, man. I really appreciate it.
I really will, man.
We have to focus on fixing the system that is distorting and dehumanizing various people, turning them into economic actors very, very often. That is the mission that we all must be on. You all have this almost sacred trust to try and safeguard the rest of the country from this broken down system that is on the verge of pushing us off this precipice, after which there will be no coming back. And you can all feel it. Like, we're all heading in that direction. That's why I'm running for president. I'm not running for president because I fantasized about ever being president. I'm running for president because I'm an American and I'm a parent, and I can see the country we will leave to our children. And it is not something that I'm willing to accept.
So before you think, well, this is all well and good, but this guy doesn't stand a chance, how would he ever be successful? You should pay attention to the fact that he's already polling at nearly 3% in several major polls. He's raised over $2 million as of the beginning of April, and there is a very good chance that he is going to not only be invited to the Democratic debates, but that he's going to have a very good showing, and that a lot of people are going to be excited about what he brings to the table. And so let's start to flesh out exactly what that is and why it matters. When you see Andrew Yang talk, he constantly goes back to one specific policy proposal first, or as often as he can, and that is universal basic income. So when you look on Andrew Yang's campaign website, you'll see that universal basic income, or UBI, is featured prominently. He also likes to call it the freedom dividend, and it is essentially a sum of money that is paid to every single American, about $1,000 a month that every American will receive just for being alive, for being a citizen, which amounts to $12,000 a year. And the proposal with this is that by receiving that check, every American would have their most basic needs covered, or at least access to resources to be able to do that. And so the idea is that people will now be able to find the jobs that they want to, because they're not having to do jobs just to make ends meet. They're going to be able to take their time to adapt to an emerging economy that is heavily automated, and that absolute poverty, in the sense of people dying of starvation, is going to be effectively remedied by the fact that people have access to this money. So what Andrew likes to point towards when he is proposing UBI is to talk about the fact that the $1,000 comes with no strings attached. So a person can spend that on whatever they want. If they want to use it for something valuable that's going to help their life and be a good way forward, they can do that, like education or meeting their basic needs. Or if they want to blow it on wasteful spending, they can do that as well. And the libertarians tend to like that piece of what he's proposing. He also likes to talk about, from a conservative standpoint, UBI would allow legislators to be able to consolidate part of the welfare state, be able to reduce some programs, and over time replace them with this initiative. And then on the liberal side, he likes to talk about taxing the rich and how that would actually help fund this program. And so he's essentially playing a little bit of both sides to find things that they like or that they want to be able to propose this plan. And so what you see is Andrew going on conservative networks like the Ben Shapiro Show, and he likes to focus on the fact that the welfare state currently is not working. Numerous different agencies are exploding in terms of the amount of money that they cost, and the results can be suspicious at best. And so he talks about how a universal basic income would allow people that are struggling to have the money that they need to be able to get to a better spot, but that responsibility is still on them to be able to use that money effectively. And then when he goes on a liberal show, he likes to start talking about the tax structure and why it doesn't work. And so he will talk about adding new taxes that will be more effective. One that he likes to focus on is the value-added tax, or the VAT tax. And Andrew's suggestion is that we start to tax goods across the country more than we already are, and then we start to scale that back from the most essential goods, and so they're exempt. However, luxury items that are commonly paid for by the rich or the upper middle class, those will have higher taxes, and that's what's going to actually catch people who have a lot of income and essentially fund the program that he wants to do. And so what you see from Andrew is that he has found things that the conservatives hate and that the liberals hate, and he's playing to both of those. On the conservative side, he will talk about the welfare structure and how it needs to change, and then on the liberal side, he'll talk about the tax structure and that needs to change. So let's look at some quick examples of that.
And so what you'd see is we would shrink the enrollment in the 126 or so different welfare programs that we have. And then over time, those enrollments would go down, which is very much the goal, because the current programs, no one loves them. And they do have many unfortunate incentives attached to them, where if you do better, then you get less. And so many people are underreporting how they're doing, or constructing a world where they are maximizing their benefits.
I want to fund this with a value-added tax that would end up harvesting a lot of money from that person at the very top of the pyramid. Because right now, and if you look at the person at the very tippy top, someone like Jeff Bezos, he's worth $160 billion, and Amazon paid zero in federal taxes last year.
Okay.
So my plan would generate literally billions of dollars from Amazon by giving the American people a slice of every Amazon transaction, and every Google search, and every Facebook ad, and every robot truck mile. And then this would be the net. We would end up harvesting literally billions, maybe tens of billions of dollars from Jeff Bezos. So if we then send him $1,000 a month to remind him that he's an American, then, especially as you say, there are many benefits to not means testing it. So the goal is to destigmatize this program and say, look, this is a new right of citizenship. It's just like in Alaska, everyone gets it. Like, we're not going to monitor you. We're not going to keep track of changes in circumstances. We're not going to make this a rich to poor transfer. But the net effect is that it does end up getting money from the people that are in position to benefit the most from our society.
And so now the big question, is this actually a good idea? Is what Andrew Yang proposing actually feasible, and would it lead to the type of growth that he says it does? After watching several hours of these interviews, what I can tell you is I'm not really sure it is a good idea, but it is an idea. And I think that's where people are absolutely in relief, and they are joyful that at least we have someone who is proposing ideas that have been considered and thought through. And so you see, even on the Ben Shapiro show, some level of camaraderie developing because Andrew Yang appears to be someone who means well. He is someone who has spent much of his life trying to develop jobs and help people. And as you see him articulating his vision for America, he has thought through a lot of the basic criticisms of his plan and has answers ready for them. And so you see some level of relief when you're talking to this smart, well-meaning guy, as opposed to some of the other politicians who have been out there recently who are either campaigning obviously for themselves or to get their own name out there, or who don't have a lot of thought through ideas. And so in Andrew's case, he is constantly referring to his ideology or his beliefs and putting those forward. And so that level of substance, I think, is a relief for a lot of people. That being said, there are so many problems with Andrew Yang's proposal, and I just want to break down a few of them. I felt like because of the relief that I just mentioned, he is not yet facing the scrutiny for his proposal that he probably should. The fact that the bar has been lowered for some politicians does not mean that we should give a pass just because somebody has an idea. So let's work through some of those problems. The first, which Andrew readily admits, is that the universal basic income he proposes would require a change or amendment to the Constitution, which is going to require an enormous amount of bipartisan support to pass. And so he aims to cultivate this support from Republicans by proposing that many of the currently existing welfare programs can be shut down or at least heavily reduced because his program is going to be that effective. But what Democrat is going to allow that to happen? Which Democrat is going to go to their constituents and say, I believe so much in this proposal that I'm going to shut down or reduce entirely the currently existing welfare state? That is a huge gamble, and are we naive enough to think that we're going to trust the Democratic Party and its presidential candidate with that task? No, what's actually going to happen is a Trojan horse type concept where this program shows up and it looks good. Now we have this universal basic income, and then out come all the other programs that Andrew Yang said he shut down or did shut down. They just show right back up if they ever left at all. And then for Democrats, the other thing that Andrew Yang likes to talk about is getting support for this proposal by using a value-added tax, which is effectively a tax on the upper middle class and the rich. And because of this, Andrew Yang is going to have to engage in class warfare, and he should expect a huge amount of resistance from the right. And so he's going to have to fight that battle as well. And so what is the result of this going to be? In order to get a constitutional amendment through, there are going to have to be deals. There are going to be compromises. And do we really think that Andrew is going to bring down the money required for this program and be able to find some other way to propose it? What is more likely to happen is that in order to get this program through, he's going to have to compromise on reducing programs for the welfare state, and he's going to have to compromise on the level of the value-added tax, and he's going to have to instead use huge amounts of debt to fund this program. When you look at this program not being a replacement for the welfare state, but more likely something that's going to be additional to the currently existing programs that won't get reduced, and then you look at the taxes that are going to be inspired from this and whether or not they fund it is going to be an open question. You are essentially looking at a new welfare program that involves redistribution of wealth from the rich to the poor. That is exactly what Yang is after. Now, he may not say that on interviews at Fox News or with conservatives, and he may not even say it from the stage in a Democratic debate, but what he is proposing is a very well disguised form of redistribution of wealth. And with that comes all of the same critiques you've heard before once it's unmasked. The problem that I have with it, and this is not to say that he's a bad person, that he means anything but the good for all Americans, but what I have a problem with is the fact that he phrases his policy as a human connection. He talks often about the need for a humane economy and how we need to start looking at people as people and not as economic units. I certainly appreciate that statement, but I don't think that the program that Andrew Yang is putting forward actually does that. Instead, what he is doing is redistributing wealth. And when you do that, you lose the ability to have that human connection. Government fundamentally operates on the basis of force, taxation, and law. And in Andrew Yang's proposal, you're going to have to redistribute wealth from the unwilling. You're going to have to tax people's goods, including the items that middle and upper class Americans purchase, and you're going to have to redistribute them into this program. And when you do that, you are using those taxes which certain people may or may not have voted for, and then you're taking their income and you're giving it back to the poor. And so government isn't actually creating wealth in this situation, they're just switching it around. The problem with that is that people who are receiving money know where it comes from. People are smart and they understand the difference between a bailout or money that is given to them from the government versus money that is given to them by someone who cares and knows them and is investing in their life. And Andrew Yang wants to pass this program off as a human connection, as an ability to reach out for those who care. But when you're doing it on the basis of law and government and redistribution, then it's not actually an act of kindness or charity. It's the result of force. And that is my fundamental difference with him, is that I don't believe that government can actually create the human connection. I don't think it can actually create the tools necessary for someone to be able to experience that. The only thing that government can do is to recognize that connection, protect it, and reward it. We see that, for example, in the tax benefits that you receive once you actually give money to charity. Government doesn't spend a lot of time sorting out which charity you should give your money to. It simply says, if you donate to a 501c3, then we're going to have income tax benefits that help you out. That is government recognizing the power and the importance and the social good of charity. But the moment the government says, and you will give to this charity, then it becomes an act of force. And so that is the danger here, is that we grow a new program in which everyone is getting benefits, and then we fund that through a combination of taxes on the rich, as well as even more debt when our country is already struggling with it, and it becomes just another welfare program to people without the actual love and care and investment that they need. But that being said, I don't want to leave you with no solution, with no proposal. Let's talk about the actual human connection and what that looks like and how superior it is to what's being proposed here. There's a basketball player that I've been a fan of for a long time. His name is Dwayne Wade, and he is just a fantastic person. He's been an NBA All-Star 13 times. He's won back-to-back championships with the Miami Heat, and now he's about to retire. And what people are recognizing about him is how much of his time and money and investment he's given to various charitable foundations. He's been a huge supporter of charities like St. Jude, helping people out, as well as setting up his own foundation called the Wade's World Foundation, where he's hosted all kinds of outreach programs, and they've really meant a lot. And so what I want you to see is, as Dwayne Wade is retiring, how people are treating him and the impact that he's had. A big thing that he likes to do is trade jerseys with people, and as he's leaving the pros, he's trading his jersey for many of his colleagues' jerseys and getting them to sign it so that he's got a memoir from what he's done and what the relationships they've had. And in doing that, Budweiser has actually come out with an ad where they celebrate him as his life. I want you to take a look at it if you haven't seen it already. I have no idea whether Dwayne Wade supports Andrew Yang or doesn't, or what his politics are, but that's not really the point. What I want you to see is the power behind this message.
I have no idea who's coming. Like, literally, no idea. Hello.
Hi, Dwayne. Hello.
Hello. How you doing, brother?
Pretty good, and yourself? It's been about 12 years since I last seen you. I come from an area where not too many people make it.
It was always my dream that I'd get the chance to go to college, but we just didn't have the money.
You mean so much to us. And my brother Joaquin loved you from the beginning. He passed away in Parkland on February 14th. He was one of the 17 victims.
10 days before Christmas, our house burned down and we lost everything. It was one of the lowest points in my life.
Hey, Dwight.
How you doing, Mom?
You were the joy of my life. But I was dropping the ball. That day that I just couldn't do it no more was the day that I was gonna have to turn myself in. And I seen the tears just fall from your eyes. Your mama went down a road, Dwayne, that I didn't ever think I'd come back from. But on that road, I noticed you kept showing up. And you'll come and see about me. And Dwayne, because you believe in me. When I got out of prison, I was a different woman.
We received a phone call. Would you mind if Dwayne Wade take you and the family on a shopping spree? It just meant the world to me that you were there for us at this time. And
Thank you.
You became our hero.
A lot of the words that you said hit a spark and kind of changed where I was going.
Without you and your full tuition scholarship, none of this would have been possible.
You're not Wade, the basketball player, the legend. You're the human being that took the time and on his own wrote my brother's name on his shoe, and you cared.
When you bought your mama that church, you don't even understand the lives that you changed. So I don't have a jersey, but I brought you this.
I don't have a jersey to trade with you, but I definitely have this, the blazer that I wore to my first job interview.
My cap and gown from graduation.
This is important because Joaquin wore this in his last championship. My family wanted you to have it.
Please don't forget my brother, Joaquin. Having you as a role model has made all the difference.
One of the special robes that you gave me, purple symbolized royalty, and you are royal in everybody's life that you touched.
You completely changed the course of my life.
I know my brother is with you always.
It wouldn't have been possible to be here if it wasn't for you.
I am more proud of the man you have become than the basketball player. You are bigger than basketball.
There's a very good likelihood that Andrew Yang is just as well-intentioned as Dwayne Wade is. Here are two guys who both care about others and they are trying to do what's right. But in the case of Dwayne Wade, it's his time, it's his money, it's his leadership and his connections that he's actually offering to people. And in Yang's case, what you're going to find as he rises in his prominence is that he's actually just trying to take the money of others and to be able to redistribute that. That human connection that Andrew Yang talks about, where is it more visible? In what he is proposing in a government program that redistributes income, or in the life of Dwayne Wade and what he's done? And as a result, where should our policy focus be? Should it be in redistributing wealth so that someone gets a check and goes on about their life? Or should it be actually recognizing and incentivizing and stimulating that love and behavior that can actually transform someone's life far beyond the capabilities that any political system will ever achieve?
He just never gives up. He has that mentality that says never give up. And that's what I've been doing for the past 18 years.